All right, so let's just jump in. Let's do some live website critiques. And then at the end today, I want to share a couple freebies with you. Make sure to get some other things in your hands that you can use to improve your overall marketing for your business and just get you moving in the right direction, I think would be great. So stick around for that. I'll make sure to do those near the end today. All right, so here is Scott's website, per dot, and maybe I'm saying that wrong. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Window fashions and design. Let me take a minute just to look at it here. Okay, I'll start in the top left, logo. Awesome, that's great. Typically, logo links to homepage, so you don't necessarily have to have the home there in the navigation because most people know that the logo goes to home. And that gives you a little bit more room for some other stuff, maybe, especially as the screen reduces in size. So let me see if I can't squeeze this down a little bit. Things start getting squeezed together a little bit, and you're a little bit crunched for real estate depending on the size of the screen that that person is on, the resolution that they have. So we can see things are, yeah, so we get down to a certain size, especially on mobile, right? Mobile is going to be even smaller than this. So here's what somebody would see on mobile. That's not really optimal at that point. So I would definitely check mobile, and we can check that in a little bit here. But at some point, depending on the size of the screen that the customer is on, some of these things might start getting cut off that way. So it is a little bit of valuable real estate. The other thing that I'll mention while I'm talking about that is the blog. So typically for our clients, we link to the blog only in the footer. And part of that reason is because this navigation real estate is high value. And for blogs, for the most part, you're creating content on your site for the search engines so that you can explain other things that you do, drop in keywords, that kind of stuff, provide really good content, mostly for search engines, not necessarily for humans, right? If a human finds a blog and reads it, that's perfectly fine. But really the main focus of writing content and putting it on your website is so the search engines can discover new keywords, new content, new things that maybe could help your rankings. So we tend to, well, we do. We put the blog in the footer only. That way it's still linked on the website. Google can find it and go ahead and index all of those pages. But it's not something that we draw attention to for human visitors. What we want to draw attention to for human visitors is this big green button over here, contact us today. I love this call to action. It is a different color. It draws your eye to it because it's so different. That's fantastic. One thing that I see a lot is people will put multiple calls to action, and they've kind of done that with the schedule your home consultation and also chat with AI. All of these three are going to lead to an appointment. That's great. But I have seen other websites where they also have a green button here that says our products. And they have another green button that says about us. And then it becomes diluted. And then your eye isn't attracted to one area. You're not drawn to a specific thing. When it comes to calls to action, you want to make sure they're different. They pull your eye to it and basically give the visitor an obvious next step. So that's what we're after there. So I think this is a pretty good job from that standpoint. Other thing about the header is no phone number. So I would highly recommend that you put your phone number in the top right, above or below the contact us button, and maybe even change this contact us button to say schedule an appointment, schedule your appointment, or free in-home consultation, and make that a call to action, but also have a website. Also have a phone number up here that is click to call. We're going to have two kinds of visitors to the site. We're going to have people that want to pick up the phone and call and talk to a real person. And we're going to have people like my wife who would never want to talk to a real person. They just want to fill out some sort of form or something like that. Make sure both are there. So phone number, top right, big and bold, and make sure it's not little. Like don't put it the same font size as the rest of your navigation. It needs to be big so that people can see it. Back to mobile, a lot of mobile users look up a website, they click on it, and all they want to do is click the phone number to call them. So don't make them have to chase down your phone number. So one thing I don't see obviously here is a phone number. I bet if I go to contact us, I can find a phone number, but again, you're making me search for it. And if you want the most leads, you need to make the things that generate those leads as easy as possible. So even here on the contact us page, the phone number is really little. It is click to call, which is great. But it needs to be in the header, and it needs to be big and bold. All right, so since I'm on this page, let's go ahead and look at this, and then I'm going to bounce back to the home page. But since we're here, let's do it. So they've got an embedded map. I love that. I think I can make this bigger. I can make it smaller. I can figure out where they're at. So it's interactive. That's great. Interactive map is better than just like a screenshot of the Google map of where you're at. This lets me interact a little bit more. I can even click on this and see what it looks like in this particular area. So I know what kind of building I'm going to, those sorts of things. That's great. I love that. So that's really good. Let's see what else we got. So we've got hours of operation, Saturday appointment only, Sunday closed. And then we've got a form to schedule a consultation. And let's see, on the form, we've got name, phone, email, I'm interested in, and then message. So one thing about forms, the more fields that you add to a form, the less likely people are to fill it out. So just keep that in mind when you're creating a form. If the purpose here is to generate a lead, and that's typically what the purpose is, then all we need to do is get their information to get the lead. This kind of stuff is nice to have, right? So that you kind of know what you're talking to them about, but you're also adding something that they have to do, right? Same for message. Now, most of our clients do have this large text field here, and we denote this as tell us about your project. And it's an optional field. So if they fill it in, we're looking for draperies for 3 rooms, blah, 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 or they could just leave it empty and hit send. What we're really after here is these first 3 things, or at least the phone and email, one of those. So we can just call them back. We can always ask them about these other things on that call, but that way we got the lead. And that's ultimately what we're after. So I do understand I'm interested in, it helps the person calling them back to set the appointment kind of focus, but that's also something that maybe could be removed here. And if you're in a situation where you just need the phone to ring or you just need more leads, I would definitely take these out. If you're a bigger company doing 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, you can start to be a little bit pickier, right? And make your customers do a little bit more to become a lead. That's fine. So it depends on where you're at. Also, I noticed that fill out the form and we'll call you within 24 hours to discuss your needs before our meeting. So you're already going to discuss some of these things. So that could also lead to removing those as well. I don't know, and I'm not going to fill this out, but one thing you can do here is fill out the form. If you're using a tool like Lead Boomerang, you can immediately send this customer a thank you for contacting us text or email, or even drop a voicemail on their phone saying, hey, thanks for setting up an appointment. We're excited to talk to you. Somebody from our team will be reaching out soon, that kind of a thing. So there is some automation you can do related to this as well, just so you know. What our clients are saying. So I love trust factors. This is the right page for trust factor related stuff because people are looking at contacting you. So they need to feel good about contacting you. So this is great. And then we've got the footer down here. Why choose? I like these trust factors. Again, here's a little bit about us. They've got a financing page. That's great. Phone number, email, socials. So let's click on the socials just because I'm curious. So one thing that I've noticed about people adding social media to their websites is that they don't update their socials. So look at this. This is fantastic. 18 hours ago, they posted. So that's great. If this said, July of 2021, I'd probably recommend you just remove the link from your website, right? If you're not keeping it up to date. But it does look like they're keeping that up to date. So that is fantastic. That's really good. Same for Instagram. Logo again. I do not see an address, a physical address for this business. I would recommend having an address here at the bottom. So it's one of the last things Google sees on the page. Here's who we are and where we're at. That would be good. And then we've got some really small stuff down here. This could be hurting you. Oops. Oh, I clicked on one of them, I guess. So this could be hurting you. There was an update. I think it was called the Hummingbird update, and it's probably been 6 or so years ago now from Google, where they actually penalize keyword stuffing. And this kind of borderlines on that, where you're just, I understand why you did it to put all these locations in here. But Google might look at that as you're trying to shove a bunch of keywords in here to get better rankings for those. Since these are all locations, a better way to go about this would be to add a section at the top here, maybe under About Us, that says service areas. So have a service areas page that then shows all the different cities, towns that you work in, and has all of that in that page. Is probably a better way to go about that. So that's that. All right, let's go back to the homepage because I want to make sure that I finish up with the homepage here. So beyond the header, one last thing I'll say about the header is I would recommend this header be sticky. And basically, well, just what it sounds like. It's sticky. As I scroll, it sticks up to the top. And you see it's stuck there for a minute. But then as I got a little bit further down, it disappeared. So let's say I get to right here and I'm like, okay, I think I want to set an appointment with these guys. It looks like a legit company. I want to do some work with them. There's nothing here for me to do. There's no call to action at this particular point. There's no phone number. There's no next step for me. If that header was sticky, this contact us and the phone number would always be there. As I cruise through the site, there's always an obvious next step, right? There's nothing here. And this is something that you can do, a fantastic exercise that you can do with your website. Pull up your homepage, click 2 or 3 random links, like don't have any purpose in mind. Just click About Us, go to that page, click something else, maybe click 2 or 3 different links, random links that you find on there. Scroll halfway down the page that you land on and then say, okay, is there a call to action here at this particular point? If not, then you probably need to put one in. An easy way to cheat is to make that header sticky, right? Then the answer is always yes, at least. But that's a fantastic exercise to kind of get through. Okay, I'm at this point. If a customer decided to do business with us right here, what would they be able to do next, or what is their obvious next step? So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's move on past the header. And I know we've got some other sites here. I want to make sure I get everybody in. So one last thing I'll say before we jump to the next one. When Google comes to your website and wants to index a page on your website, what you need to do is tell them who you are, what you do, and where you're at. That needs to be goal number 1, right? So if I look at the title tag, we're getting a little nerdy here. But if I look at the title tag, I've got per dot window fashions and design, window blinds and shades. No idea where they're at. So I do know who they are and what they do, but no idea where they are. So Google's the same way. Should we rank these guys in New York or Detroit? In this case, we know that's where they're at. Southern California. So this is an opportunity for you to send information to Google saying this is who we are, what we do, and where we're at. I would also consider changing this title tag to get your keywords as far to the left as possible. So per dot window fashions and design, that's a lot of characters. And for somebody who doesn't know about this business at all, they're never going to search for that, right? What we really need to have is window blinds and shades, Detroit, all the way to the left. And then maybe this pipe, this is called a pipe. Oh, well, I can't do that, but that bar that goes up and down, have that, and then have your brand name. And then if Google has enough extra space to pull that in, that's fine. But the purpose here is to say, here's what we do and where we're at. That's first. The same goes for what's called your H1 tag, and that's your best heading for that particular page. So it should almost match your title tag. It should be very similar, if not the same. But again, it needs to be the same thing. So we've got, I'm going to guess and say this is their H1 tag, and we'll look in just a second here. Your trusted source for the best blind, shade, shutters, and drapery in Metro Detroit. That's good, right? That tells exactly information about this particular page. So if okay, I got a question here. I'll get to that question in just a second here. If I right click on this Your Trusted Area and I go to inspect, we're going to get just a little nerdy, but I'll keep it to a minimum here. What I'm looking for is this an H1 tag? And I don't see it here, but if I move up, I can see that right here is H1. So this is the H1 tag. It is the main heading for this page. If you think of a newspaper, the biggest, boldest headline is the first thing you see, right? It is the top news for that particular day. That is your H1 tag. So that's great. I think that's really good. It does say who you are, or sorry, where you're at and what you do. Those are the two things we're after. And we do have brand related stuff up here. This is not an H1 tag, but you know that, so that solves that. So that's great. I think there's some really good things going on here. And hopefully that helps you. I know I didn't go through the whole site, but that should point you in the right direction, at least for Scott. So, all right, we did have a question that came up. I think it said, what about shop at home only businesses? So I think you're referring to the fact that there's no address in the footer where you go to them, right? In that case, yeah, obviously don't have a physical address down here at the bottom, but the more information you can have, the better. For Google Business Profile, it's becoming harder and harder for home-based businesses to get approved. Their verification process is getting more and more difficult. So you probably should consider going through that. When it comes to listing your address online, let's say in your Google Business Profile versus just setting up a service area, it's a 10-to-1 difference when it comes to lead generation. If you can list an address and get an address verified and add that address to your footer here as well, you're going to get 10 times the leads that if you don't list an address. A lot of people will say, well, I don't want to put my home address out there. I personally have had my home address on my profile for, 18 years now. And during that time, I've had one person show up. So not a big deal, not as big as a deal as you think it's going to be. And there are things that you can do saying people don't come to my location. There are things that you can set up in Google Business Profile to mention that. But that's hopefully that answers that particular question. So, all right, Scott, hopefully you got some info. Let's jump over to... Thanks for tuning in with us here at Window Treatment Marketing Pros. This was just one piece of the conversation, so let's keep it going. Click right here for the next part, and we'll see you there. Subscribe for more marketing tips for window treatment and awning companies.